Hello and welcome to the Art Market podcast. I'm here with photographer Nicola Taylor. Hello, Nicola.
Hello.
Now, for the listeners, can you tell us a little bit about the story behind your business and how you began?
Photography is actually something relatively new for me. I'm in my 30s now, and for the first part of my career I was a stockbroker in the City of London, so it's been quite a big change for me. I kind of was coming up to my 30th birthday and just, I was happy in the corporate life for the majority of my 20s, but as I approached 30 I found that it was feeling a bit empty for me, and I was looking for something else in my life, and especially creative pursuits. That was something that really felt missing, and that was kind of strange because I'd never been arty at school. I'd never been particularly good at drawing or painting, although I was always kind of imaginative. I'd never expressed myself visually before, but I found myself wanting to do that, and realised that where I was going with my life was just incompatible with working in the city. And so I left, I went off travelling for a while, I trained as a yoga teacher, I did a bunch of different things, and a photography course at the London College of Communication, and that was where I really kind of got into photography in a serious way and started to think about it as a career path.
And did you feel there was a creative explosion happening at that point? Because you said that you wasn't particularly kind of arty in your school life and things like that, even though you were imaginative. Do you think that when you actually had the opportunity that's when it just kind of came from inside of you? Because your work is very dramatic, it's very theatrical, it has a massive impact. So do you think that you were it was inside of you all that time and you were just wanting it to come out?
Yeah, I do actually. I mean, as a kid I would always be the one kind of making up the stories and making up the games that we would play and wanting to kind of act out my imagination. And so what I do now is really in that same vein. It really fits. You can kind of see it coming when you look backwards, but at the time it felt like it came out of nowhere. I'd been taking photos for a couple of years, but mostly landscapes. Coming from Yorkshire, there's so much beautiful landscape, there's so much beautiful landscape photography, and that was what had inspired me up until that point. But I found when I got into an art school environment that I found that need to kind of tell stories really coming out in my work. And I would kind of, I would sit in the library and I was most drawn to the illustration section rather than the photography books. And I would spend hours looking through books of illustration. And so I tried to bring that into my photography work. And I think that's when I really took a step forward and felt like I was becoming an artist.
What is your inspiration? Where do you start when you begin an idea?
My process is a little bit difficult to explain, and that's, I think, why I use myself as a model, because I find it difficult to communicate to other people. It all kind of starts from local folklore and fairy tales. We'd go and kind of hike, and my grandmother would tell us stories about fairies under this bridge, or a witch that lived in this area. And it starts with that, with the knowledge of those stories, but it's much more loose than that. It's kind of a little bit from this story and a little bit from that story. I deliberately make my images. They have a very clear narrative element to them, but there's not a set story behind them, so that people can really bring their own stories to it. That's one of the things that I love the most about stories, is that I can pick it up and I can take it in the direction that I want to take it. And I want people to be able to do that with my images as well, to be able to see different things in it. So kind of see it a little bit like when you do a creative writing exercise and you have a storytelling prompt. So one person will write the first line of a story, and then the next person will carry it on. And I kind of want my pictures to feel a little bit like that, like you can carry the story on yourself.
No, I love that idea, definitely. It's definitely open to interpretation and imagination, which is a nice thing, definitely. So you're always the model in your work.
Yes.
How I find that, and I'm sure a lot of people listening to this podcast will also find that quite amazing, that you can take an image and be in an image as well. We all know about self-timers, but we all know how that can go wrong. So you need to be very, very skilled as a photographer to manage to get that right. And because your work is kind of very theatrical, like we've established, how do you manage to get so much in the image?
Well, I actually don't use the self-timer. I have a remote control, so that makes it a little bit easier. But most of my images are multiple photographs layered together, different elements from different photographs, and I'll stitch them together to create the full image that I'm looking for. Because it, as you say, it is very difficult to get everything in one place in the same shot.
Yeah.
And for some of my images that use elements kind of flying around in the air like pages on leaves, I shoot each one of those elements individually, and then I can put them exactly where I want them, and I can create the composition that I want.
It's incredibly skilled what you do, isn't it? Incredibly skilled.
Yeah.
Well, it's sounding like it.
It takes, each image does take a lot of time to create, and I've spent, as much of my education has been in digital editing software as has been in photography. And that's something that I actually, I enjoy it just as much as the process of taking photographs, is the process of kind of putting it all together and creating something in Photoshop.
So who's inspired you? If you could name a photographer or name an artist, who's been your main inspiration?
It's funny you should ask that, because when I was in this process of changing from being interested in landscape to interested in something else, one of my tutors at college asked me that very question, and the name Tim Walker just popped out of my mouth, and I didn't even know where it had come from. I think I'd seen about 2 of his images at the time, and I was just like, this is the person I want to be like. It was a bizarre thing, but my work has actually moved more in that direction since then, so it's obviously the right way to go. I just think his images are incredible, and the picture that's inspired me the most was, it's an image. It's a huge tree, and in the tree are hanging lots and lots of dresses, and they're lit from within, so they look like lanterns hanging from the tree.
Love that.
It's just the most kind of magical, beautiful image, and it's what kind of set me off on wanting to take pictures that are kind of, magical and creative and tell a story.
I like that. It just takes that one spark, I think, to send you into this world of wonder. And I think it's knowing that it can be possible. That's Absolutely. The exciting bit. I mean, when you realised what you dreamt about, what was in your imagination could be possible, how did that feel?
It was, especially for somebody like me who'd spent kind of the majority of my life up until now not doing anything particularly creative, it was kind of a huge release of energy. And I enjoyed taking landscape photos, but this was something completely different. And this felt like I was really expressing a part of myself, and I hadn't really felt that before. And it was just, I was like up all night on Photoshop, and I would kind of be out every day taking pictures. I was completely obsessed by it. It was just, it was actually really, really emotional.
Yeah, I can sense that actually, because I just think you've been in a world where you've not really found what you want, and then when you go on that journey and you find what you want, and suddenly it becomes possible to you, then it's like life's begun.
Exactly.
So what's your favourite piece of your work?
It changes all the time, but my favourite piece at the moment is called Like Ghosts from an Enchanter Fleeing. It's an image taken in the fog with a woman in kind of all in black with leaves blowing all around.
I love that image. I love it too.
I like a lot of my pieces to be quite melancholy, quite, a kind of a touch of kind of beautiful sadness in them. And I really felt that I kind of captured it in that picture.
So what date are you doing the art markets?
I'm doing the art markets on Sunday, June the 10th.
And what are you excited about most about doing them?
First of all, I'm so honoured to have been accepted. I was just absolutely thrilled when I found out. And when I visited the last art market in November, I was really taken by the quality of the work there. And, it was obviously a very well-attended, very busy show. And I just, I applied just because I wanted to be involved, but not really expecting anything. So I'm just so excited to be in the company of other really, really talented people. But I'm very excited to go and show my work to a community that really kind of loves art.
Yeah, absolutely. The reaction to your work is going to be like mine was, like, wow, oh my goodness, how has she done this? And it's so amazing, it's so beautiful. But I'm sure you'll get other reactions as well, you know, other feelings, other emotions, because that's the whole point of art. It's all individual and it all sparks different things for different people. So you've kind of gone on quite a journey. What's next for your company?
Well, I'm kind of building my profile. Obviously, I'm continuing to shoot images for my Tales from the Moors Country series. I've got plans for some quite different images that I'm going to shoot over the winter this year, when it's just much more difficult for me to get outside and take photos in the landscape. And then I'm also looking to start shooting some photos a little bit further afield, maybe going up to the Northumberland coast and over to the Lake District as well. So staying in the north, but kind of moving a little bit further afield. And yeah, I'm just kind of continuing to build out, doing more art fairs and, you know, perhaps a trade show next year if I kind of feel up to it.
Yeah. So it's about building up you as a profile, building you up as an artist and as a photographer, isn't it? Out into the industry. You know, maybe a few exhibitions. Yeah,
well, I've got kind of lots of exhibitions in the works at the moment. I've got my work in kind of a few local galleries. I'd like to get a little bit further afield with that as well.
I hear there's some exciting news that you've got to share with us.
That's right. I entered a competition run by Stolly, the vodka brand, back at the end of last year. Again, not expecting anything, but they were looking for people who have an element of creativity in their lives. Either, you know, they're doing a creative pursuit or they've responded creatively to a challenge in their life, and who are doing it in an unusual way. And I felt that kind of fitted me, but I didn't expect very much from it. But I was lucky enough to be selected, and I was filmed for the documentary in January, and the film's going to have its premiere at the O2 at the London Sundance Film Festival next week. So that's very exciting.
That's just amazing. Yeah. And the film's on the Art Market blog, and so everyone can have a look on there. You're one of these people, I think, that's just going to grow from strength to strength, because you've just got an abundance of imagination that will kind of continue to spark and go in different directions. Definitely the one to watch, I think. So thank you so much for taking the time to be interviewed, and I look forward to seeing you on the 10th of June at the Art Markets.
Thank you.
Thank you. If you would like to know more about the Art Markets, go to www.artmarkets.co.uk.